said I'm going to evaluate me. Well, if anyone feels like evaluating, you can take some notes if you want to. Okay? No? Okay. Chair, fellow speakers. Where do I start? Tell you what, I'll start from the beginning. How about that? From the beginning. What is your first ever recollection in life? Now, think back. What was your first ever memory? Go on, think. Think hard. Mine was significant. Now, I'm going to set the scene. I'm not sure which continent I'm on, but I can set the scene. I'm at an airport, but in the early 50s. It's dawn. The sun is just, you can tell it's dawn. There's a chain link fence in front of me, and there's an old Lockheed Constellation airliner sitting on the tarmac. No lights or nothing. It's quiet. The sun is just starting to come up. And I'm in my mother's arms, looking at this airplane, because I'm going to go on. I'm a passenger. It's an old airfield. There's just I didn't see any buildings. It's just a tarmac, an airplane, and the sun's coming up in the background. That was my first ever memory, and I was in my mother's arms. Now, isn't that significant? That was really stuck with me all this time. That's my earliest recollection. I can't remember if I was going from America to Japan, or Japan back to America. Okay? So to start a little bit earlier, I was born in Seattle, Washington. And from there, my parents, my father was an airline pilot with Northwest Airlines. My mother was a stewardess. How did that ever happen? You know, things like that do happen, still happen. And my father had a posting from Northwest Airlines in Tokyo. This was just during or just after the Korean War. So we were living in south of Tokyo, near the Ginza. So I've been told. I can't remember the exact location. But I do remember some fun times. I remember we used to have a parakeet, talking parakeet, in the front room. We had a big picture window in the living room, of which I broke once. My parents were pretty miffed about that because I had a hammer. I found my father's hammer. I was tapping on the window. It smacked. Oops. I remember in the bedroom, there was 2 single beds. I used to jump back and forth on the beds. And I fell over once and smacked my mouth and hurt my lip and so forth. And I had a blue bicycle. Gosh, blue bicycle. Now I'm really scratching up some of the memories now. We used to ride up and down, no helmets or nothing in those days. Another significant aspect of living in this house in Japan, in Tokyo, was I remember the house across the street caught fire. Now, the Japanese fire department came, we rushed into the street, we're all standing out on the road. Big, huge pipe. The firemen were dragging this pipe along from the fire engine because they had a big tank on the back. They didn't use water. They foamed the house. Now that was strange. I thought everyone used water, but no, they foamed it. My parents had a gray Studebaker car. You know, the round bulbous ones, you know, so that was back in the 50s. Lived in Seattle for a while. We left there after a couple of years. My father got reposted back to Seattle. Lived in Seattle, various places, as you do, you move around. Lived in Los Angeles for a little while. Important. When I came back from Japan, I could only speak Japanese. Couldn't speak English. Because we had a Japanese housemaid in the house. So she was chatting with me all the time, and as a young lad, you know, you're quite influenced, so I spoke Japanese. Baby type Japanese. And my parents went away on holiday, so they left me with my grandmother in L.A., and I had a massive toothache. And I kept going like this, whatever it was, but I couldn't explain what was wrong. So my grandmother had to look in the phone book, you know, the old yellow pages, to find a Japanese dentist, because I only spoke Japanese. Strange times. It was fun. Where else did we live? We lived in Seattle, and then I lived in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And I lived on a boat, a 55-foot yacht, in Bahia Mar Yacht Basin in Fort Lauderdale. My God, that was fun times, running around with bare feet, running around the docks, had a bicycle with no brakes, riding around all over the harbor. I only fell in once. Oh my word, I was going to go to school, had my backpack on, and got on there and slipped and fell between the dock and the boat. I don't think I had ever even touched the water before my mother was in her nightgown, leaning over the dock, pulling me up out of the water. That was the only time in about 2 or 3 years of living on this boat. I only fell in once. Wow, that was good luck. Saved my books. My books didn't even get wet. They were floating in a backpack. Lived in Fort Lauderdale. Went to school there. That was fun. Then we lived in Minneapolis, Minnesota. My God, what a change of environment that was. You think cold weather? We were living in a townhouse, and our bedroom was upstairs, as they usually are. And one winter, opened up the window. My God, the whole place was blanketed with snow, because it was a blizzard in the evening. Came downstairs, my mom says, I can't get the front door open, because there was an 8-foot high snowdrift. So I had to go back upstairs, put my clothes back on, all my gear, and I climbed out my bedroom window, and I scooted my way down the snowdrift and dug myself to the front door to get out. So that is Minnesota. And you know it's cold at minus 32 degrees. When the inside of your nose freezes, you know it's damn cold. Excuse me. Very cold. And that was in Minneapolis. Didn't stay there that many years. My dad got posted back to Seattle, thank God. And, yeah, we lived on a house by a lake. So this is only just part one of many parts to follow. So this is my introductory bit to the F1.